Happy Wednesday, kind humans. Now, I know that most of you will probably watch this later on because you have a life other than watching me and waiting around for me to get on a live, but it's convenient for me at the moment to do it. So sorry it's not nighttime, but you can always watch this back. So if I don't answer you, it may be that you're watching a replay. If you are watching it right now and it is live and I don't answer you, Facebook has not let me see the comments as per usual. So I'll wait just a couple of seconds to see if we get anyone on at this time. Probably should have tagged everybody to see the notification. Otherwise, I'm just going to get started, waffle on my own, and then you can listen to this when it suits you. Now it's telling me I have a slow connection. Okay, no. Oh, good. All right, so what I wanted to talk about is an actual fact, the number one reason or the number one question I get when it comes to foundation, and it is what foundation suits me, or foundation makes my skin look worse, or do I need a new foundation when the seasons change? So, okay, the top three things I get asked. So in answer to the first question, the foundation that suits you best will really depend on your skin type and the environment that you live in. So if you are living in a humid, hot versus cold and drying, or you're just in an environment like Melbourne where it's fairly volatile and it's all over the place, it'll depend on your skin, whether it's a true dry or dehydrated problematic. So maybe it has rosacea, or you've got acne or blemishes, whatever it might be, problematic, or oily, or maybe you're a normal skin, which is you're not oily, you're not dry, you're just okay, or normal combination. So it really depends on those factors. What I can say about the Adorn foundations is this: the loose mineral foundation, any skin type or age group can use. And the reason for it is that it is coverage in the purest form, and that is pure premium minerals. It's not synthetic coloring. And so for that reason, the coverage that you get, a lot of colors that are made for paints and all sorts of things, they are synthetically made a lot of the time, or a combination of both. And it's an exact science when you're making synthetic colors because it's a recipe, but you don't get the same sort of intensity as you do with natural colorants. So the beauty of the natural colors is that they can sometimes vary a little bit from batch to batch, because that's the beauty of nature. It is never the same. But what the pure minerals pigments do give you a really rich, intense color. And the loose minerals have the 20 plus sun protection benefit. Okay, so if sun protection is an issue for you, which it should be for everybody, then that foundation is excellent for that reason. So the loose minerals suit everybody. It's all about what you put under it or over it. So if you've got a normal combination skin, you might be happy with just using one of our 2-in-1 primer moisturizers. So you would cleanse your face, use one of those. There's two options, the Radiance or the Hydration Plus. Hydration Plus is our long-standing bestseller for over 17 years, and the Radiance is one that's fairly new, been around for a few years, and that one's excellent if you're wanting to pay a little bit more money and get the benefits of peptides. That's another conversation. So you can use that first. Ultimately, it's for your hydration and to get the skin all nice and even and able to take on your foundation as evenly as possible. You would then put your loose minerals on. Now, if you are a normal combination and you prefer a satin sort of finish, that's probably the finish you'll get with just the primer. If you prefer more of a dewy appearance, you could then spritz it with the rose water or our peptide face mist, and that will give you that really nice dewy looking skin. It also helps dissolve any of the minerals that might have sat on any hairs and are looking a bit obvious. Now, on that point, if you do have facial hair, the best thing to do, no matter what foundation you purchase, is always finish with downward strokes with your tool that you're using. So whether it's one of our bigger buff blends, the kabuki, a sponge, your fingers, because when you're putting foundation on, you're lifting those hairs up. They're going to be more obvious. So you just then want to place them down once you're finished. And as I said, the rose mist or the face mist will help dissolve that as well. So the loose minerals, if you've got an oily combination or an oily skin or an acne skin, are awesome because, again, non-comedogenic. They're very long lasting, but the healing properties of the zinc and titanium dioxide that we use, and on that note, we do not use nanoparticles. Nanoparticles is the science around particles being so small that they can enter the bloodstream. We don't use nanoparticles in our cosmetics, although nanoparticles are good for medications, topical medications, because sometimes you do need it to get through the skin. So it's not a bad thing, it's just bad depending on what ingredient is penetrating the skin. Anyway, I digress. So you would use the minerals over the top of your primer moisturizer from Adorn, and then the minerals will help mattify the skin, and your natural oil may come through during the day, but all you need to do is just get a tissue, which I'm looking for, I don't have a tissue, and you can just blot away the oil that comes through the makeup. Okay, the makeup's porous, so when, and you'll have to excuse me, I don't have any makeup on today. I've just come back from Pilates, so I'm probably not a good advocate for things, but anyway, so the beauty of the loose minerals is it's porous. So if you think of my fingers being the makeup, your oil comes through, rather than if the product is comedogenic or sits occlusively like Glad Wrap on the skin, where the oil is created and then it sort of pushes and moves and separates the product. Ours will sweat and the oil will come through the product, leaving the product in place, and then you just patting away that oil or sweat. So that's how, technically, in a non-scientific term, that it helps with that oil flow. Now, if you really do struggle with humidity, or you're in and out, or you're sweaty, or you're having hormonal flushes, try our oil setting powder or oil control setting powder. It's a translucent, it looks white. That'll be excellent, especially if you just maybe want to help with the T-zone. You can also get the little sample sizes if that's enough just to carry around in your bag, or the HD Blur. So if you're someone with an oily skin and you've got large obvious pores, which is usually the case, then the HD Blur is a really beautiful fine powder that once dusted over the top will help do exactly what it says, blur those large pores or any of those problematic areas. So the loose minerals are suitable for dry, dehydrated or more mature skins. And the reason for that is that it works again with any product underneath it or over it. So if you've got a drier or dehydrated skin type, more mature like myself, and you do prefer that radiance and that dewiness coming through, then this foundation is it. All you need to do is put your primer moisturizer on for hydration. Essentially, moisturizers and primers are there for hydration, and then they may do something else as well. Then what you're going to do is put a few drops of a face oil over the top of that moisturizer. And our day oil is a beautiful oil for this particular routine, because when you apply it over the top of your moisturizer, it acts as nourishment, which means food for the skin, I guess. It protects the skin from environmental factors like heating and cooling. And what it will do is, as soon as you start buffing the loose minerals over the top of the oil on your face, which is non-comedogenic, lightweight, and not greasy, in actual fact, you'll probably just want to put this on for the sake of it because it smells like a day spa in a bottle. It's delicious. You put your day oil on, put your minerals on, and the minerals dissolve into the oil, turning it into this instant beautiful liquid. So it will give higher coverage because the minerals are grabbing to the oil, so you will get a heavier coverage. So just make sure, if light coverage is what you're after, just keep a little bit on the brush and build it up. That's the other point with the Loose Minerals that I love, is that it's buildable. So if you're a one foundation gal, then it is the one that does everything. It's buildable in coverage, light as you want it to be, as heavy as you want it to be. It's got the SPF factor, so the protection's there. It's calming. Think zinc on babies' bums. It calms redness. And in actual fact, there's been times where my naughty boys have come home with a bit of sunburn, and I've actually put the mineral foundation on them to go to bed with, and it helps calm that redness right down. So perfect for rosacea and acne. And it's great for those of you that want to go from a day to night. So if you do want the day barely there barbecue look, or you want the work look, or you want to take it into the evening, it does all of the different coverages that you can possibly want. And it's all about what you put under it or over it, or what tool you use. So using bigger buffing motions with your brushes will give you a lighter coverage. Press roll action, whether it's a sponge or a brush, will always give you a fuller coverage. So that's the Loose explained. Now, if you're someone who loves a liquid, and traditionally people, especially of my age plus, tend to go for liquids and creams because we know more about it. Our liquids are a beautiful product. It is a mineral liquid foundation. It is what I would say a medium coverage. It's a satin coverage, so it's not necessarily a dewy or a matte. It's sort of somewhere in between. It's an excellent product for those of you with oilier skin types. It's probably normal to oily. If you've got dry or dehydrated skin, I would suggest it's maybe not the best option for you, because it doesn't have any sort of oils in there. It's more of a water base. It dries quite quickly, and it doesn't sit very well with an oil under it. So it's not as forgiving if you try and change things. It really needs a water-based primer underneath it, or water-based moisturizer underneath it. So beautiful product, but again, better for those with normal to an oilier skin type. You can, of course, use the Loose Minerals over the top as well for extra coverage. In actual fact, you can use the Loose Minerals over our BB or cream to quickly enhance and give that extra coverage if you wanted to as well. So now with our BB cream, again, another product that suits, I would say, all skin types. Unless you want heavier coverage, it's not buildable, and the liquid's not buildable either. Those two products are both not really buildable. It's the coverage, and that is it. If you try and build it, you can start to separate the products. So the BB and the liquid are ones that are not as buildable. BB cream, I would say, has a very similar coverage to the liquid, maybe a little bit less, but it's definitely got coverage. And it's quite lightweight, which the liquid is as well, so it doesn't feel like you've got makeup on. Same with the Loose. And it's got the SPF 20 in it. It's also got hyaluronic acid in it, so it will help plump out the skin, and it does give the skin more of a radiance look. Now, BB creams are traditionally used as a one-size-fits-all, it does everything kind of product. I don't really follow in that belief. Like I get it, and I understand that we have days where we all just like slap something on. But you really do need moisture. And the reason I say that is we're in harsh elements of heating and then cooling, and then we're sweating. And so the skin that you see is essentially dead, and it's not a byproduct, but it's essentially what's happened to it underneath. So it's going to look dry or sweaty, and being an organ, it's constantly changing. I just realized I've got a nice water stain from dribbling water from Pilates today. Oh, aren't I a delight? Anywho, so I do think that to help manage and protect your skin throughout the day, a moisturizer is important to use underneath, even a BB cream. Our BB cream is not one that works well over an oil either. Okay, so if you do like that really dewy appearance, then it's more about using a face mist over the BB cream. Any product that has hyaluronic acid in it. Now, hyaluronic acid is one of those ingredients that everybody's fallen in love with, but it's a tricky ingredient. It's beautiful if you know how to use it, but if you don't, it can actually cause your skin to dehydrate. Now the reason for this is simply because hyaluronic acid is a molecule that it binds to water. It needs water. So think of a hyaluronic acid particle being an empty sack of a balloon. And to fill the balloon, we need water. And that's what hyaluronic acid needs. So it's awesome if you've got sort of an oilier or a sweaty sort of a skin, because it's constantly got water to work with, and it's keeping that hyaluronic acid plump. And then those plump particles are making the skin look plump. But if you've got a normal or a dehydrated or a more mature skin, and you're not using an adequate amount of moisturizer or face mists to feed that hyaluronic acid, someone picking up something from my husband. The dogs are going to go nuts. Yeah. Psycho Staffy, who's not really psycho, she thinks she is. Those little, let's call them spheres, hyaluronic spheres, need water to keep plump, and they will continually suck up water to do so. So if you've got a dry, dehydrated or mature skin, there's not really much of a reservoir of water for that to grab onto. So it will utilize anything that's on the skin. Now, if you're already struggling to produce moisture in your skin because it's dehydrated, dry or mature, it's going to dry your skin out. So hyaluronic acid can actually make your skin worse. So hyaluronic acid is in our BB cream, and it's a beautiful product, and it obviously has water in the BB cream to help feed those little hyaluronic acid spheres. But it's very important that you use a moisturizer underneath it, so that especially if you've got dry, dehydrated skin, to give it moisture to feed off to plump the skin, and in fact, maybe use a face mist throughout the day. That goes for any hyaluronic acid product, whether it's a skincare, moisturizer, anything that's got hyaluronic acid in it. So if you've got a moisturizer that's got hyaluronic acid in it, face mist. Face mist first, moisturizer, face mist after. Give it water to work with. Otherwise, it'll use your moisture in your skin and dry your skin out. Cream foundation. No, actually, let's talk about the compact, because I've forgotten about that numerous times. So we have a mineral refillable compact foundation. All of our loose is also refillable, and so is the compact pressed powder. Okay, so this does not have any SPF in it. It is more for convenience. So if you are someone who loves to do touch-ups, or someone who maybe doesn't wear much makeup but you want something on the go, I don't know, you just like using a compact, if that's a preference for you, it gives beautiful coverage, it gives buildable coverage. It's essentially the loose minerals but without the SPF. Okay, so that's really the difference, is the physical form versus it being loose with the SPF. Now the cream foundation, another one of our super favorites, and quite, well, not unique, but we're probably one of the few brands that actually has stick foundation in a cream form. So it's a vitamin E, and it's got some ceramides in there. So it's a beautiful product for helping to nourish and help almost repair the skin. So it repairs as it's covering. I'm a big fan of ingredients in makeup that acts as skincare. I don't like when I would never produce a product that makes the skin worse, so then you need to keep using the product. It's about whatever you put on your skin should act as skincare as well, because it's essentially on your face longer than your skincare is. So the cream foundation it has the ceramides, the vitamin E in there, so it's really nourishing, reparative, and helps your skin improve its own, I'm having a mental block, its own repair barrier. It's beautiful coverage, so it is somewhat buildable. It can be quite light, you just don't put as much on and blend it more, and you can build it up to a medium to full coverage. If you like an Estee Lauder no movement look, then this product is probably one you'll love, and then you can just use the loose minerals to set it over the top, and that's like you will barely see your skin underneath it. So you can use two together. You wind it up, just dot it on and then blend it out. You can use our kabuki brush to do that. You can use our new big chunky cream brush if you prefer a bit of a handle. The kabuki brush obviously is a shorter, bigger brush, so it does apply things a bit quicker than this one, but some people just love a bit of a cream, especially if you're someone who just wants to put the cream sparingly. Maybe you don't want foundation all over your face. Perfect for that. So the cream foundation is also, like all of our products, in fact, the packaging, once empty, you can return that to us and we will recycle that. We send it to a company called TerraCycle who will repurpose the packaging and the plastic into things like outdoor furniture and outdoor pots as well. So that's a little bit of information about what foundations we have, what one might work. There's samples available for you to test. What I suggest is if you do go down the track of samples, pick the color you want, pick one that's lighter and pick one that's darker, because shades always look different on a screen. And one of the biggest reasons, I reckon the most reason why I see women that tell me they don't like foundation or they can't find one that suits them, the number one reason why is because they pick a foundation that's too light. So I can see somebody that has, especially if you have had fair, red, beautiful red hair, you've got white freckly skin, maybe when you were younger, maybe even now, but as you've gotten older, you have copped the sun damage and your chest is a lot darker than your skin in between the freckles. That's probably the number one person that says they've got fair skin. Yes, you do, but in makeup world, you don't. A fair shade in a foundation means it's going to be pretty porcelain. And you've got to remember that two things, if you've got lots of freckles that are darker than your skin, you really need to find a foundation that matches to the freckle color. Because if you don't, you put a color that matches the skin in between the freckles. What happens when you put light over dark? It goes pink. And that's one reason that my freckly people hate foundation, because everything goes pink, and it's because they're going for a fair foundation. And whoever's color matching you, out in these goddamn department stores, do my head in, because yes, you've got fair skin, but you don't when it comes to foundation shades. When it comes to foundation shades, when you want to look the most natural, if you want a perfect match, you have to match your foundation to the darkest area of your nipples to forehead. Okay, so that's the biggest tip. Don't be caught in, I've got light skin. So a lot of people will say to, like me, they will say definitely that they've got fair skin. Because I think people are thinking of dark foundation colors being for more of our African or Indian or European colors. Okay, so just because you are Caucasian does not mean you have light skin or fair skin. Not in foundation world, okay? Some brands will just call their foundation shades numbers. We give them names because it gives people a bit of an indication. But the biggest reason people hate foundation is because they pick one that's too light. So my number one tip for you is you match your foundation to the darkest area that takes up the most of your skin, from nipples to your forehead. Now, the only reason this would be different is if you're someone who wears turtlenecks, then you would match your foundation to the darkest area on your face and neck. So if you've got a chest that is quite sun damaged and it's quite dark, you have to match your foundation to that if you expose your chest area, okay? You need to match it to that, not your neck and not your face. Yes, the foundation will be a little bit darker, maybe 2 shades darker. But I promise you, by doing that, you'll look younger, your skin will look healthier, and it will not draw attention to pores, lines, and everything else. okay? Because if you think about white walls, it gives that airy, large feeling. Like foundation does the same. It gives a large appearance to everything. So if you've got pores, wrinkles, that's what it's going to show. If you've got freckles, or if you've got pigmentation, or you've got sun damage and you wear a light color to match the light skin in between, it's going to go pink or it's going to look gray. So if your foundation, you're like, oh, my skin looks pink, or your foundation makes you look, not giving you the bird. If you look gray, you are using a foundation as an absolute indicator that you're wearing a foundation too light. If your pores and your wrinkles really stand out worse than before you had foundation on, it's too light. So match it to your décolletage, okay? You should be able to look at yourself and go, oh yeah, everything looks the same, okay? As I said, unless you're wearing turtlenecks and jumpers, then you can, you know, if you're wearing a jumper, yes, you can color match to your neck. And because your neck, in some instances, may be lighter than your face. In actual fact, it probably is for most people, because your jaw tends to protect the neck area, unless you've been a real sunbaker. So your neck tends to be the lightest. This is usually the darkest, lightest, and your face is somewhere in between. Some people will say to me, I don't want to have to put foundation down my neck. I get that. I understand, but sometimes you just have to bring it all together. Otherwise, you've just got to weigh it up. Like, it's not going to look as natural if you don't. So I put foundation on my neck. I always have for many, many years. And I often get complimented for my age about my neck. And I would suggest it's because for 17 years and even prior to that, I've always put foundation on my neck and my chest if it's exposed. And I've always worn foundation every day of my life, even if it's just a light, loose mineral, which I haven't had a chance to do just yet, but I always do, because it just helps protect, like have a protection layer on the skin from dirt and grime and all those things. But getting back to the colors, I digress. So if pigmentation, I'm talking more of that brown, like a real olive sort of black undertone pigmentation is your issue, then you're going to have to try and find a foundation that's similar in color. I appreciate you probably don't want to go as black as it is, but you need to find more of an olive colored foundation to sort of bring your skin in between that pigment damage up a bit to match the pigmentation, because again, it's just going to make it look grey if you put a light color over the top. What you might want to then do is just avoid putting foundation on those pigmented areas. If you've got more of a warm pigmentation damage, so it's or sunspots that tend to be more sort of that orangey, browny sort of color, then you're going to need to look at more of your cooler sort of colors, which is obviously your pink base, which is like medium tan, dark beige, so all of those colors. And again, you're matching to, I'm not talking if you've got one sunspot, you have to make your whole face that color, but what you might want to do is put your foundation on and just wipe a bit of the foundation away, or you need to put a lighter concealer or something and just build on it to try and cover it. Okay, concealers are the only things that are really going to be thick enough to try and cover dark color that stands out on the face. Okay, so again, match it to your chest, match it to your face if your neck's lighter, or match it to the area that dominates your face the most. So if you've got the fair skin, the beautiful red head, but you've got the freckles like nearly everywhere, you really want to match it. Either just embrace the freckles, they're beautiful, or if you want to wear foundation, then you need to pick one that matches your freckle color. Now, I promise if you go darker, you'll look healthier. As I said, all of the things you don't want showing up won't show up as much, and you will look all nice and even and less likely that you've got foundation on, okay? The biggest thing with foundation is it looks like foundation. If it's lighter, it looks dry, it looks cakey, it'll cling to dry, dehydrated skin, especially if you're more mature. Again, wearing a darker foundation will help eliminate that. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea around shades. If you want to try a new one, pick the color that you want, but then go maybe one lighter and one darker, or a couple darker. Now with changing seasons, it's quite possible that majority of you will need a couple of different foundation shades throughout the year, okay? Unless you're someone who's, quite young and, your skin, you're not really in or outdoors that much. You're pretty much in, you're wearing sunscreen. If your skin doesn't really ever change, you're probably one shade person. But I would probably argue that most people after they're sort of 20 odd might need two. Whether you're fake tanning, whether you have got a little bit of intermittent sun throughout the day, or as us more mature ones have got, the sun damage or more sun during the year. So chances are you may need two shades, a lighter one and a darker one. And the reason for that too is that it's good because you could maybe sometimes mix them. So when you're sort of in between seasons and maybe your tan is fading, or you're not using fake tan as much, then it may be a good thing because you can mix the Adorn shades together. If you're someone who finds that, yes, you need one that's a little bit darker, but it's not too big a deal, your foundation's okay, it just needs a little bit of oomph, then you can upshade your foundation without using or needing a second shade. And you simply do that by following my 3 method, which is my contour method, and that is just using either a slightly dark, like a bronzer, maybe a contour product that you might have, maybe a concealer, maybe even a dark foundation that you bought that's too dark and it's just sitting there doing nothing. Just use that around the forehead, onto the cheekbones and around the jawline, and a little bit sort of in here. That will give the illusion of your overall skin being a little bit darker, okay, because it's creating that shadow and light effect. So that's what I would call upshading, and that's how you can get around just having the one color if you are a little bit darker. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. That's enough waffling for this Wednesday, and I think the next time I jump on, I'm going to talk about how Adorn is has essentially always supported the environment right from the very beginning, which was nearly 17 years ago. And excitingly, we did win an award with Power Retail, so one of the retail industry bodies, for top customer service experience. And we were up against brands like Big W, Rebel, Mecca, we were some massive brands. So to take home the award for best customer experience was amazing. Don't have it here. I took it to the office to show everybody. So things like that really make, a huge impact for us, but also I think sharing with you hopes, if you're a new person, gives you a little bit more confidence to make the switch and jump over and try an Adorn product, because we are here to help you. Okay, have a happy Wednesday. I'm going to go and change my top now because I look like a slob. Hope you're having a great day. Remember to be kind to yourself and everybody around you. And if you can't be kind, just zip it. Scream into your pillow. Scream into your book. Something like that. But we don't need to share it with